welcome back to the deep dive. If you believe, like we do, that racing success isn't just about raw speed, but about character and persistence, then today's subject is definitely for you.
Yeah, we're steering clear of just the raw, dominant champions today.
Exactly. We're focusing on the quiet, enduring grace of a true competitor.
We are diving deep into the sources on Eishin Flash. Now, he wasn't the most dominant horse, maybe, but he absolutely became a symbol of intelligence, courage in Japanese racing.
Right.
His story is really defined by these incredible emotional highs, some really frustrating lows, and one single profound moment of cultural respect. It's quite something.
So our mission here is to trace how this gentleman of the turf, as they call him, how he managed to create this legacy.
Yeah.
Physically designed in Europe, but competing with a real Japanese heart. Okay, let's unpack this. Where do we start?
To really get Eishin Flash, you have to start with his passport, essentially. Born in 2007, his genetic blueprints, they point straight towards Europe.
Okay.
His pedigree is just fundamental to understanding his approach, both physically and mentally, to the sport.
Right. Let's look at that family tree then. His sire was King's Best.
Yep.
English 2000 Guineas winner, carried some serious clout. And King's Best was actually a half-brother to Urban C.
That's the one. The very mare who produced the legend Galileo.
Wow. So that's truly world-class lineage, built for endurance, for class.
Absolutely. But the interesting twist comes from his damn moon lady.
Ah, okay.
She was German-bred, and she was imported to Japan while she was pregnant with Eishin Flash.
So, wait, he was Japanese-born technically?
Technically, yes, but his core DNA, his, let's say, racing philosophy, was fundamentally shaped by that German breeding approach.
And that's fascinating, especially when you compare it to, the explosive speed often prioritized in American or even a lot of Japanese racing.
Yep.
We tend to focus on quick returns.
German breeding, it operates on what you might call the long game. The focus is really on strong mares, immense durability, mental fortitude, and crucially, late maturing stamina.
Right.
It's an architecture designed to peak maybe at 4 or 5 years old, not necessarily at 2.
So when you put that kind of, sophisticated, deep-chested European engine into the Japanese training environment.
Eishin Flash became this incredible hybrid. One source perfectly described him as a European body with a Japanese spirit.
And he did show promise early on, didn't he? Debuted in 2009, won his second race.
That's right, and then quickly took a graded stake, the Kaisei, a G3. And from there, sights were set on the ultimate classic, the 2010 Tokyo Yushun, the Japanese Derby.
That Derby field, though, I remember reading it was terrifying.
Oh, it was. We're talking G1 heavyweights like Victor Pisa, rulership, horses everyone thought were near certain champions.
And Eishin Flash, where did he stand?
He came in as the 7th favorite. Respected, sure, but definitely an outsider compared to that kind of established talent.
And this is where that inherited German stamina really kicked in, I suppose.
Absolutely. The Tokyo Yushun, it features that famously long, punishing home stretch. It demands so much more than just a quick burst of speed.
This real test.
And Eishin Flash just unleashed this devastating late kick. You could see that long stride architecture just eating up the ground, gliding past rivals in those final 100 meters. He won, a complete surprise to many.
Wow. And it wasn't just about the horse, right? There was a human element, too.
A huge one. It was a fairy tale for the jockey, Hiroyuki Uchida. He was a veteran, but he'd only transferred into the JRA, the top tier of Japanese racing, just 3 years earlier.
So this was his first Derby win.
His first ever Derby title. It really felt like destiny finally catching up with both the horse and the rider that day. Just magic.
You'd think, okay, career-defining G1 win like the Derby, that sets you up for domination. But the sources show, almost immediately after that high, Eishin Flash kind of hit an invisible wall.
Yeah, he entered what they called a 2-year tunnel of frustration. It must have been incredibly draining for the whole camp.
What happened? Setbacks?
Yeah, things like muscle pain, which forced him to miss the Kika show, the final leg of their Triple Crown. He tried racing abroad, went to the Dubai World Cup.
How'd that go?
Not well. Finished way back.
Yeah.
And for 26 long months, he just couldn't get back into the winner's circle for a G1.
But that period, it's actually crucial to his story, isn't it? He wasn't exactly failing.
No, not at all. He was just always the bridesmaid, it seemed. He consistently performed at the very highest level, showed incredible durability.
Like placing 3rd in the Tucker-Zuka Kinnan.
Right, and finishing 2nd in the Arima Kinnan, which is huge. And that was right behind Orfev, the Triple Crown champion.
So he was fighting, always close, but that second G1 just kept slipping away.
Completely elusive. Which brings us to 2012, and the race that, well, changed everything all over again, the Tenno Sho Autumn.
Ah, yes. And this race had this unique historical weight. Right?
Massive weight. This was a Tenron Gaiba, an imperial viewing race. The Emperor and Empress of Japan were in attendance.
That is incredibly rare. The atmosphere, the pressure.
Yeah.
It must have been monumental.
Absolutely. And Eishin Flash, this time he was partnered with the Italian jockey Mirko De Muro.
Another top field.
Oh, yeah. Facing elites like Fenomeno and Rulership again. But De Muro gave him just a perfect ride. Textbook. Used that late developing stamina, timed the move flawlessly.
And surged home. The victory itself was huge, obviously breaking that long winless run, but the sources really point to what happened after the finish line. That spontaneous act, that's what really cemented his reputation.
Oh, completely. De Muro did something just unheard of. As he rode back past the royal box where the Emperor and Empress were.
What did he do?
He stopped Eishin Flash, dismounted immediately, took off his helmet, and knelt in this deep, traditional Japanese bow right there on the track, facing the royal enclosure.
Wow. Just completely impromptu.
Totally spontaneous. A gesture of just profound respect.
But wait a minute. The stewards? They let that slide. I mean, technically, dismounting before you get back to the weighing in area, that's strictly forbidden, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a definite penalty offense pretty much anywhere in the world.
Yeah, racing rules are usually so rigid. Didn't that set a tricky precedent? Was it truly just a case of the moment being bigger than the rule book?
It's a really important point. It was a technical violation, no doubt.
Yeah.
But the JRA, they handled it perfectly. The official response, and this is quoted in our sources, was simply, "We read the room."
We read the room. I like that.
It just transcended the written rules, you know? It was pure humility, sportsmanship at its absolute finest. And because it resonated so deeply with Japanese culture, it just sealed Eishin Flash's image forever as that dignified gentleman.
It connects back, doesn't it, to his whole personality that people described. Calm, elegant, smart, none of the wild temperament.
Exactly. That moment reflected the horse, too.
So he finished out his racing career with that same dignity. Another G2, the Manichi Okan.
Yep, and even placed third in the following year's Tenno Sho Autumn again, showing his consistency before retiring after a final run in the Japan Cup.
Okay, so retirement, stud career starts in 2014. What was the thinking there? Was he in demand?
Initially, yes. He was appealing precisely because those slightly rarer European bloodlines were something Japanese breeders were actively looking for, you know, to add stamina and different qualities.
And was he expensive?
Actually quite accessible, relatively speaking. His initial stud fee was 1.5 million yen. Now, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it does.
But in the context of G1 sires, especially a Derby winner, it was a pretty reasonable price point, and it worked. He attracted nearly 200 mares in his first season. Big numbers.
But the results, they didn't come instantly.
No, they didn't. He lacked that immediate breakout star progeny. And without quick G1 success from your offspring, well, popularity can dip fast. It's a tough competitive market.
It seemed like maybe his story was fading a bit. But then that German late-developing stamina theme comes back, doesn't it? But this time, generationally.
It really does. The story comes full circle in 2022, and there's a real poetry to it. His son, Onyankapan.
Great name.
Isn't it? Onyankapan won the Kaisi High, the G3.
Wait, the exact same G3 race Eishin Flash himself won early in his career?
The very same one. And get this statistically, it was the first time since 1984 that a sire and his direct offspring had both won that specific graded race.
Wow. That's more than coincidence. That's a signal.
A clear signal that the quality, the durability, it was being passed down.
But that wasn't even the final act of redemption, was it? There was more to come that year.
Even more unbelievable, really. That same year, 2022, another son, Vela Azul. Now, this horse had struggled, plagued by injuries, racing in lower classes.
Okay.
But suddenly, he just blossomed, matured. That German late bloom effect, maybe?
What happened?
He won the Kyoto Daishoten, a G2, and then, against all expectations, really, he went on to win the Japan Cup, the G1.
The Japan Cup. That is huge.
Oh.
And incredibly poignant because wasn't that the one major race Eishin Flash himself kept trying for but never won?
Exactly. The ultimate prize. Eishin Flash attempted it 4 times and never quite got there. His son did it.
So, the horse's son wins the very G1 his father couldn't, proving that endurance, that class bred into him. It finally paid off on the absolute biggest stage.
Eishin Flash went from maybe being a slightly forgotten stallion to being a G1 sire, all in one breathtaking season through his sons. His legacy isn't just about his own two G1s anymore.
No, it's about passing on that persistent strength, that character.
Eishin Flash's story, it really is a masterclass in, well, quiet determination, persistence, and that successful blend of two different racing worlds.
It proved that greatness, doesn't always have to shout its dominance from the rooftops.
Sometimes it just bows with profound elegance.
It's a stunning end or continuation of his career, really. His own ultimate achievement, you could argue, winning the Japan Cup, was secured not by him directly, but by the character and strength he passed down.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.